In the thick darkness beneath London, our game of hide and seek is no longer laughter and play, but the hurried breath of someone who has just touched the forbidden. As magnificent as England above is, the underground is just as dark and foreboding. When you close your eyes and start counting, do you think you're standing in a wine cellar or an old subway station? Don't be mistaken. You might be standing on a layer of decaying urban waste seeping through the cracks of the Thames Tunnel bricks, or inadvertently hiding behind a coffin that has been disturbed by some cult at Highgate. There are secrets not only buried by earth and stone, but also by the ruthlessness of time and the madness of human ambition. Beneath the bustling streets, there is a network of time machines transporting letters for the deceased and fat monsters exhaling ancient pathogens. Every step you take in the darkness could awaken the whispers of 15,000 souls yet to find peace. This is not a tour. This is a journey into the most terrifying corners that history has deliberately erased. Open your eyes. The game is over. But the real nightmare is just beginning. Are you ready to see what you shouldn't know? You are closing your eyes and counting to 10 in a damp underground tunnel, thinking you are hiding behind a great Victorian heritage. Open your eyes and look at the bricks oozing glossy black tar beneath the Thames River. You have just touched one of the most chilling secrets that English history has ever tried to cover up with champagne and candlelight. It was November 10th, 1827. At the bottom of the River Thames, Mark Brunel hosted an extravagant dinner party right in the heart of the tunnel under construction. Imagine pristine white tablecloths, shimmering silver candles, and gentlemen in tailcoats raising their glasses to toast a wonder of the world. But just behind that fragile wall, what is there? It is the seeped river water, heavily polluted by the domestic waste of that time, making the air in the tunnel suffocating and toxic. The bed of the Thames River is not just mud, it is a liquid graveyard accumulated over centuries. When the workers dig through, they are not just touching the soil and rock, they are digging with bare hands into layers of sediment filled with a mixture of organic sludge, animal remains, and decaying urban waste that have accumulated over centuries. The aristocrats above are savoring exquisite food, while just beneath their feet, the ground is still soaked with the misfortune of the unfortunate workers who fell just a few weeks earlier. Have you ever wondered what the price of glory is? To create space for that feast, the miners had to be locked into something called the Iron Shield, or more accurately, standing coffins. Each person was imprisoned in a small, cramped compartment, breathing in the thick, pungent atmosphere of methane gas, just a flickering candle, and the toxic gas will ignite, burning their flesh right inside the iron cage. The divers have to plunge into the water filled with bacteria to clean up the waste, clearing the way for the shiny leather shoes to step into the party. The party was also a publicity stunt, aimed at reassuring shareholders and the public that the project was still under control. And they did very well. They turned a temporary morgue into a ballroom. They used the music of the military band to drown out the howling wind and the sound of water leaking through the bunker walls, a sound that people believed was the lamenting cries of the workers' ghosts standing at the edge of the banquet table. A system operates by using people to pave the road, then covering it with a layer of velvet to deceive the eye. What an artistic way of risk management, isn't it? Nowadays, if you ride on the overground trains passing through this tunnel, sometimes you will see a thick, black liquid oozing from the cracks in the rock. That's not engine oil. It is a reminder that the earth never forgets. The darkest secrets always find a way to seep through the most solid layers of concrete. Are we living on a glorious civilization, or are we just dancing on the lid of a gigantic coffin adorned with splendor? If the story of the intersection between luxury and dark corners makes you ponder what lies beneath your feet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join me in unveiling the next layers. Because this game of hide and seek has only just begun. Leaving London, we will head to Kent, where an ancient labyrinth awaits. There is no champagne there, only a lake so eerily still that your candlelight will extinguish on its own. and the whispers of 15,000 souls will guide you to a place where the living should not tread. Goodbye to the strong smell of death under the Thames River. Our game of hide and seek takes us to Kent, where an ancient chalk maze over 35 kilometers long is swallowing the light. Welcome to Chiselhurst Caves, a geological scar that has been excavated and expanded over centuries, particularly intensively from the medieval to the modern era. The boundary between life and what is called an end is as thin as a hair. If you are looking for the perfect hiding place, Chiselhurst will generously offer you thousands of dark dead ends. But be careful, the darkness here is not empty. During World War II, this place was an underground city that sheltered 15,000 refugees. Imagine, 15,000 people crammed into the damp earth, living, dying, and clinging to each other amidst the roar of bombs above. This spatial system became a gigantic funnel, absorbing all the fears, grievances, and shattered lives. Those 15,000 souls did not leave when the war ended. They left behind a dense energy that sensitive people call the whispers of the stone. The most terrifying stop in this maze is the Haunted Pool. Why does it have this chilling name? According to the legend recounted by local residents, this is a place associated with mysterious rituals, and later became a destination for the desperate to end their lives beneath the mirror-like still waters. Here, the laws of physics seem to be bent. Many explorers have recounted and sworn that when they stand by the edge of the lake, the candlelight in their hands mysteriously extinguishes despite there being no wind. It's not a lack of oxygen, but rather as if some force is craving your presence, wanting to pull you into absolute darkness to join the ghostly army lurking beneath the surface. The eeriness of Chiselhurst does not lie in the exposed skeletons, but in the feeling of being watched. You're playing hide and seek, but in reality, you are the one being hunted. Maintenance workers and ghost hunters frequently report hearing the sound of bare feet running and the cold hands touching their shoulders even in the dead-end tunnels. It is the irony of fate. Humans dug tunnels to seek safety from bombs, but in the end, they imprisoned themselves in a spiritual cage from which they still cannot escape thousands of years later. An incredible defense system, so much so that it also traps the very people it was meant to protect. Sometimes, I wonder, what are those 15,000 souls whispering? Are they warning us against digging too deep into memories that should not be touched? Or do they simply want more players in this eternal game of hide and seek? The white chalk walls here are not at all lifeless. They record everything, from the prayers of the medieval era to the screams of children during wartime. We are merely curious transient guests, inadvertently trespassing into a warehouse of a nation's pain. If you feel your breath becoming more labored and the darkness around here starting to weigh heavily, perhaps it's time for us to find another way out. But before we step out of the maze of souls, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button to keep your candle from going out midway on our next journeys. If the souls in Chiselhurst send shivers down your spine with their illusion, then what we are about to face next is an extremely horrifying nightmare. We will return to the bustling underground of London, but not to party or play hide and seek, but to confront an entity growing from humanity's wastefulness. If the souls in Chiselhurst make you shudder with their ethereal presence, then this entity will make you nauseous with its excessively tangible existence, leaving the chalk caves. We return to the bustling heart of London, right beneath the luxurious shopping paradises like Oxford Street and Piccadilly Circus. A bit roundabout, isn't it? But I think it's worth making our hide-and-seek journey more thrilling. There, a monster without bones or flesh is quietly growing from the very waste of humanity. Can you guess where we are? That's right, the kingdom of Fatberg. Imagine a massive waste block, as hard as concrete, stretching up to 250 meters and weighing over 130 tons, equivalent to a pod of blue whales stuck tightly in a narrow sewer. But don't be mistaken, this is not ordinary waste. Fatberg is a bizarre biological structure formed from rotting cooking fat, non-biodegradable wet wipes, and various types of chemical waste that city residents carelessly flush down the toilet. Under the temperature and pressure of the Earth's crust, They crystallize, saponify, and transform into a soft but incredibly solid, fossilized mass. The horror doesn't stop at the appearance. Fatberg is a true farm for superbugs and pathogens that were thought to have been eradicated since the Victorian era. Scientists have found within this tumor bacteria that cause dysentery, listeria, and even traces of highly concentrated toxic chemicals. It breathes out methane and hydrogen sulfide, a mixture that could explode at any moment, ready to spew tons of terrifying substances onto the ground. You think you are strolling on a clean street. In fact, you are standing on a ticking biological bomb. Dealing with this monster is a real battle. The sewer workers have to wear fully protective suits, crawl through tight spaces to chisel away at the Fatberg with high-pressure water jets and shovels. They describe its smell as a combination of decaying animal carcasses and sewage that has been sealed for decades. We spend extravagantly above, then push all the filth underground, creating an entity that reflects our own excessive consumer lifestyle. Fatberg is the most honest portrait of a modern city, a museum of wastefulness that no one wants to acknowledge. It cannot speak, but its existence is a silent warning. The more we try to clean the surface, the more the Earth's core accumulates these dark, cancerous masses. Someone once joked that if London were to face an apocalypse, the only thing left would be these Fatbergs. They will fossilize and become the only evidence of a civilization that once existed based on excess and waste. Are we controlling the city? Or are these fat farms the ones holding the lifeblood of London? If you feel the need for a breath of fresh air after confronting this entity, leave a subscription so we can escape the sewers together and seek another kind of darkness. The darkness of eternal solitude. Step down the rusty iron stairs to reach the Post Office Railroad, a mini railroad network that runs entirely in the dark beneath London, where time seems to have stopped decades ago. If, in the previous items, you were terrified by the presence of decay or waste, here, you will shiver at the emptiness. This is the world's first automated tram system, built solely for transporting mail. But look, the tiny, cramped train cars now lie still like rusty iron coffins on the tracks. No driver, no passengers, just the buzzing of electricity and the whistling of the wind through the narrow tunnels so tight you could touch both walls at the same time. The horrifying truth here lies in the abandoned nostalgia. There are letters that have remained in these train cars for half a century, love letters, death notifications, or family secrets that both the sender and the recipient have likely long since been buried beneath gravestones. This system is like a time machine stuck, silently transporting the memories of the deceased through the earth of a bustling city above. The feeling of hide and seek here is like you are hiding in a graveyard of forgotten information. Some maintenance workers recount that, although the system has been inactive since 2003, they sometimes still hear the clattering of iron wheels rolling on the tracks at midnight. The ghost trains appear, carrying the chill of the past, running through the dusty stations where the flickering fluorescent lights can never fully illuminate. Have you ever thought about where your secrets will go when you're no longer around? Perhaps they are lying somewhere down there, in a rusty train car, waiting for a seeker to accidentally touch them. This is not just an industrial relic, it is proof that the world will continue to operate even when we disappear, cold and indifferent like those rails. If the loneliness of the old letters makes you feel melancholic, take a deep breath before we reach our final stop, where darkness is no longer emptiness, but a menacing presence. Hit subscribe so we can hold on to each other in the dark, because the next place we go will not be for the faint of heart. If the postal railroad system is where forgotten letters of the past are kept, then deeper underground in London lies an even more brutal network. Secret nuclear bunkers like Paddock or the Kingsway Tunnel system, this is not a place for hide and seek. This is where people prepare for a scenario that no one on the surface wants to think about. In the peak years of the Cold War, when millions of London residents were still bustling about enjoying the bright neon lights above, beneath their feet lay thick concrete blocks, designed to become the nation's backup brain in the event of a nuclear disaster. The horror of these places does not come from wandering souls, but from the inhumanity of the numbers. Step into Paddock, and you will see minimalist meeting rooms with worn leather chairs, strategic maps still marked with red circles indicating destruction targets. Here, the elites and government officials calculated coldly who would be the one to step through that heavy steel door to survive, and who, the millions left behind, would be abandoned to vanish into radioactive dust. It is a concrete testament where compassion is set aside to make way for pure political existence. The feeling of standing in these tunnels is the suffocation of a tightly compressed space. No windows, no concept of day and night, only the continuous groaning of the gigantic air filtration system, now rusted. The rows of red telephones, originally designed to govern a fallen nation, now lie still like evidence of a madness called mutual destruction. You will realize a harsh truth. If the bomb falls, those hiding in here will not be the lucky ones. They will be imprisoned in a modern coffin, eating canned food to survive and watching through radar screens as their world is wiped out. The emptiness here carries the hue of betrayal, betraying the trust of the taxpayers above. Those who are unaware that right beneath their feet lies a predetermined system of life and death stratification. When you touch the cold walls of Kingsway, you are not just touching concrete, you are touching humanity's most primal fear, the fear of being abandoned in the hour of apocalypse. This is a warehouse of despair, where survival is bought at the cost of millions of other lives. Does a civilization truly progress when it uses the very earth to build fortresses of selfishness and fear? This is the final stop, where our game of hide and seek has no way back. Forget the solitude of the rusty letters or the horror of the lumps of fat. At Highgate Cemetery, the darkness takes on a distinct form, thick and steeped in blasphemy. Beneath the aging ivy canopies that cover the Egyptian-style tombs, a sanctuary quietly exists, where the departed never truly find rest. Step down the worn stone steps of the Egyptian Avenue area, and you will find yourself standing among the mysterious circular tombs. The terrifying truth here does not lie in vague legends, but in what happened in the 1970s. In the so-called Highgate vampire hunt, a series of crazed individuals and heretical cults broke into the place. They didn't just visit, they smashed the ancient oak doors, pulled the lead coffins out of the wall niches, and tore them apart. Imagine you are hiding in a dark wall nook, your hand touching the cold lead of an opened coffin. You realize that you are not just facing a corpse, but confronting the terror of a distorted faith. These tombs are like a torn library, where each page is a fragile human life. The old London elite spent enormous sums to be buried here, hoping for eternal peace, only to ultimately become toys for the peculiar amusements of future generations. Should we continue to dig into these graves in the name of curiosity, or should we let the darkness consume its own mistakes? Highgate is not just a cemetery. It is a mirror reflecting our primal fear of being forgotten and desecrated after closing our eyes. The game of hide and seek beneath England's soil ends here. You have discovered things you shouldn't have known. But remember, when you step onto that ground illuminated by dazzling lights, each of your footsteps is still treading upon the darkest layers of secrets. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next journeys into other forbidden lands, because this world is vast and the darkness is always deeper than we think. Our hide-and-seek journey through the darkest layers of England has finally come to an end. Up there, London still stands magnificent with the proud Big Ben clock tower and the ancient palaces glowing under the sunset. But now, after having walked with me through the disturbed tombs and the suffocating underground sewers, you will realize that beneath that smooth asphalt lies a sick and hollow entity. It is a vast cemetery that contains both the grandeur of an empire and the perverse, deviant pleasures of humanity. There are secrets not only buried by earth and stone, but also protected by the silent complicity of time. Standing at the boundary between the radiant surface of the earth and the dark depths below, we are compelled to question, is humanity truly evolving? Or are we merely striving to build a more magnificent civilization to conceal the masses of human fat that are gradually growing within our souls? Your curiosity today is a journey in search of truth. Or is it actually a brutal invasion into the final rest of the past? Every step you take on the street from now on will perhaps carry a strange feeling. Do you hear the echoes from the Highgate tombs beneath your soles? Or feel the chill from the undisclosed bunkers? If these hidden corners have touched your thoughts? If you have the courage to fully listen to this haunting journey, please motivate us with a like. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next forbidden lands on the world map. Share this video if you want to invite your friends to join this risky game of hide and seek, where the line between the seeker and the one being sought becomes incredibly thin. Final note. All of the above content has been compiled from historical documents, archaeological reports, and published urban legends. We do not encourage or take responsibility for any unauthorized intrusion into the military areas, bunkers, or private properties mentioned. Respect the law and your own safety. See you at deeper levels, where light has never touched and secrets are still waiting to be awakened. Are you ready to dive deeper? Leave your comments below, and we will debate in the dark.